Well, welcome back, everyone. Yep, that's of course right. Now, today I am, of course, covering some controversies that Xbox have seen themselves in. So, of course, obviously, like the Sony video, I will not be covering, I meant the PlayStation video, I will not be covering controversies that affected Microsoft as a entire company, but controversies that affected the Xbox brand. Obviously, in this video, I'm not trying to create any console wars. I have an Xbox 360. I've had an Xbox One and a Series X. I just kind of, no, honestly, I will admit that I kind of have had trouble with Xbox. So, of course, let's get into the controversies with my number 6 pick, that, of course, being lackluster exclusives. This has been a thing since Xbox One, pretty much. Xbox has been criticized for their uninteresting titles. Criticisms have been levied towards games like Starfield for being bland, Halo Infinite for really just doing nothing to increase the whatever Halo was popular for. Basically just kind of being a lackluster exclusive, not really anything new. Halo 5 has been criticized, Halo 4 has been criticized. We've also seen criticism with other Xbox exclusives for just either just really just not needing to be a thing, and yeah, so on and so on. Obviously, we've also seen some comparisons to the 360 days, where we had games like Gears of War, Halo, Left 4 Dead, and Fable, which were, quite different than some of the ones that we kind of saw now. And it's kind of the same issue with Sony, hence why it is on both these lists. Next up, we of course have studio closures. So Arcane and Tango Softworks got closed down a bit earlier. Now, of course, these games were responsible for games like Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire Tokyo, Redfall, and of course the Dishonored series. Now, yes, obviously, Redfall was a complete abysmal failure of a game, but Hi-Fi Rush, that game did pretty well and was one of the most praised Xbox exclusives the year it came out. And Ghostwire Tokyo, well, it isn't really an Xbox exclusive as it launched on the PS5 too. Xbox still owns Bethesda, and Ghostwire Tokyo seemed to be a breath of fresh air from Bethesda. So let's just shut down their studios, because that completely makes sense. And honestly, believe me, it gets stupider from here on out. And of course, my number 4 pick is, of course, that very reason, buying Activision. Now, yes, I probably could have put Bethesda on here too, but Xbox buying Activision was probably one of the dumbest ideas that they've ever done. And frankly, I blame it for the studio closures. They bought Activision for about $69 billion, I think. And the trouble with that, in my opinion, is the fact that Activision isn't even worth that much. Well, at least not in my opinion, but Activision only made like about $8 billion in 2023, and Microsoft buying it for like nearly 10 times that amount, I think is one of the dumbest decisions that Microsoft has done, and I blame it for leading to the studio closures that were mentioned in the previous pick. That mention also got them into a ton of controversy, as if I recall correctly, Sony kind of threw a conniption, and it ended up going to, like, I think the FTC. Not mention you also had various gamers that were, increasingly mad because, Microsoft buying up a third-party studio that is that successful is kind of a red flag. And even got worse as you have people on Sony's side who are trying to get Sony to buy Square, Rockstar, or anything else. And this is really just kind of says that people learned nothing from that. Next up, at number 3, we of course have the Halo Master Chief Collection. Halo is a legendary series. Now, it isn't as successful as it once was, as criticisms have been levied towards every game since Halo 3. The Master Chief Collection coming out on the Xbox One back in 2014 seemed like a good idea. Every Halo up to that point on one console, with remastered maps and improved graphics. What could go wrong? A lot actually. I don't know exactly what happened, but dissatisfaction was a huge thing with this game, and it launched with several issues, some of which weren't fixed until years later, which kind of tainted the Halo brand as a whole and turned off a lot of people from the Xbox One, which obviously, that's definitely going to be on that list. And of course, my number 2 pick is the Red Ring of Death. The Red Ring of Death affected the Xbox 360 at its launch. The Xbox 360 was a rushed console, and it had some hardware issues, aka the Red Ring of Death, which was a general hardware failure of the console. The rings kind of meant different things, but essentially it just meant that, hey, something's wrong with your console, you're gonna have to get it fixed. This kind of blew up in Microsoft's face because, well, a lot of Xboxes were defective, and even though they kind of released newer models, if I recall correctly, some of those models had the same issues. Now, this was fixed by the time the Xbox 360 Slim came out, but it definitely affected the Xbox brand for quite a bit. I mean, it still would go on to sell pretty well during that console generation, but Microsoft kind of couldn't continue living off the praise that it was getting, because on my number 1 pick, I of course have the Kinect and Xbox One reveal. The Xbox One was an abysmal failure at launch. A few things wrong with it were, of course, the fact that it would have no used games on it, as Microsoft wanted to pretty much cut out used games for the Xbox One, unless you paid a price, which honestly kind of ticked off a lot of people, because, well, you're already buying, you're already putting money on used games, so do you expect to be able to play them on your console? That's not what Microsoft wanted, and it was a very annoying thing to have to deal with. Now, it did eventually get reversed, a lot of this did, but it really hit them hard. Other issues were the fact that it had to be connected once every 24 hours, otherwise it could lock you out of your account, and a connect was required, which gained even more controversy because of political events at the time, and the fact that it would have to be connected online once every 24 hours also really ticked off a lot of people because, while quite a bit of the population has internet today, back then, not everyone had internet, and those who didn't, well, basically is stuck with the 360. And that kind of really ruined Microsoft's reputation with some people. Other issues came with the fact that it wasn't really a game console, but more so of a TV cable box or some crap like that. They literally used the entire presentation just to show off what the Xbox One could do as a streaming box. Other issues were, of course, the Kinect being required, as that made the Xbox One a lot more expensive compared to the PlayStation 4, which, keep in mind, that's kind of what Sony did the previous generation and what Sega did with the Dreamcast. You don't make a console more expensive than your competitors. They kind of learned nothing from that. And probably a bit of a personal controversy for me, and of course requiring a Microsoft account just to even set up the thing fully. Now, of course, Yes, I know Sony does require an account to use online services, but not to just be able to play your games. Microsoft, on the other hand, you gotta create an account just to play your games and be online just to even fully install some of them. Otherwise, some games either won't play or just straight up won't work. So yeah, honestly, Microsoft's made a lot of mistakes. Same from Sony. Both of them are not perfect. Both of them have done some really scummy things in the past and continue to do scummy things. Let's just hope Nintendo isn't as bad as them. As always, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.